Yeah, yo. Woke up in the morning and to God be the glory. Thankful for another day to tell my story. Put my opinions in the universe and let them orbit. I'm from the dirty south with a dirty mouth, might need orbit. Miss things on me like a nigga Norbit. Had to refuse them cause my bitch no Rasputia, she gorgeous. As I dap my sons up and kiss my daughter forehead. Tell them we gon' get this money till my pockets morbid. Remember living in apartments, now we playing mortgage.
Yeah, it's like coffee, yeah.
We have this guy over in Marietta. His name is Mello, and he
Mellow black man.
Yeah.
He big and black.
He just like speaks like this when he's telling his joke. It's hilarious.
Yeah. You know who I really like? I like Mandel. I got tickets to his show in Huntsville, but I ain't gonna be able to make it because I'm being Detroit. But
Detroit, my God, you're all up and down the East Coast. You're like,
yeah, man. I've been as things have picked up. I just learned how to like figure out what opportunities to say yes to and which ones to turn down. But it take a little while to get there.
Because like at first you're like, I gotta get as much exposure as possible, and then you get to a point where like, what are you giving me, right? Like,
for sure, I think there's a certain exchange of value that has to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Because it sucks because there's some awesome people going to talk to, right? But it's like,
yeah, and you know, I think when it comes to the podcast space, I would pretty much go on anybody's podcast if I see them doing something consistently. I think, you know, if I go to your page and the last time you put out an episode was like 2 months ago, and you like, oh, I just want to get it back going, where it's like, okay, but you want to go back going with me? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, get it back going on your own.
They get the hump and then they...
Yeah, because, I mean, they don't have it. So it's going to be mostly people that's going to go look at and see whatever I'm doing anyway. Whereas if you have consistency about what you do, they might stay. But it's like, what if they go and it's like, damn, this last video was out 2 months ago. They're going to see the same shit I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just mindful of certain things. This would be, so where we at? We 88 Jam, 89. No, 89 is Jasmine. Then 90 is next Wednesday. This will be episode 91.
I got the odd number. Oh no.
Yeah. Got 91.
Oh dang. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's Saturdays. These are the guest episodes come out. Because the main thing we do is on Wednesday. Wednesday is just a solo part. It's just me and my homeboy, but my homeboy not even on camera. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna send you. You know, you'll do your homework after you get. But I think it's more important to kind of expose what you're doing because I think that's big, bro. So Cobb County got a terrible reputation among the blacks. You know what I'm saying? You know
the Chattahoochee River and all that.
The come on black boy shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit. You know that's notoriously what you call it. So this would be we'll count it in. You got the song. Oh, we don't need the song. We'll just go in. All right, bet. So this is episode 91, Chris Next Podcast. I'm your host, Deontay Kyle. Deontay.Kyle on all platforms. Deontay at Deontay Kyle for inquiries and booking. Advice at Deontay Kyle if you got your advice segments. And if you want to submit music to New Music Monday, that's nmm@gmail.com. 657-234-EGGS. 657-234-3447. For your call-ins, leave voicemail, and we'll get back to you. We got a special episode today. We might be on the brink of history here in Georgia. We got mayoral candidate Sam Foster in the building. What's up, Sam? How you feeling?
I'm feeling well. Thank you for having me, Deontay.
Man, thank you, bro. So I think naturally, like we said before, this would probably come across as an endorsement. I'm going to endorse anybody black for sure. But I think the youth, I think your background, you know, you being so young, you're 24 years old, your main mode of transportation is a bicycle. You know.
I took the train here today.
Oh, shit. Yeah, all right. Utilizing all the resources. I fuck with it. But I think also, too, just being, you know, not in the homeowner space, being a renter yourself, and just understanding, like, the struggles of the everyday working class person, that would be your constituents, you will understand some of their struggles, what their needs are. You will understand better how to meet their needs. But even before this, how did you even land as a mayoral candidate? What is your journey to politics? What's some of your background? What were your interests in high school? Did you go to college?
We're going way back.
Yeah, go all the way back. Let the people know who you are.
You know, grew up in Rockdale County for a little bit. Moved here when I was about 12 or 13, and I went to Rockdale County High School. Nothing of note there. I did like IT. That's my main interest. So I'm like an engineer. That's my day job. And I came to the KSU campus in Marietta, and that was like my introduction to Cobb County. First thing I realized, I'm a minority.
Yeah.
You know, coming from Rockdale County, it's like 60% Black. It's like, whoa. And then second reality was housing is unaffordable. So as soon as you get there, all the dorms are full. The private student housing, off-campus housing, they charge you individual rent per person. So when so you can't split the rent. So then I had to go and get some off-campus housing somewhere else, and I split the rent 3 ways with my some church friends, and then I was taking the bus to school for a little bit, and I was working another job for $12 an hour. So like, that was my introduction to Cobb County, unaffordability, struggling to get around, all of these things. And then when I graduated, you know, there's some things that I like about Marietta. Obviously, I'm running, so I love Marietta. So I decided to stay. And then through that experience, I started to learn like how unwilling the city was to change to actually work for working class people and what the actual problem is. It's a government that's irresponsive, that doesn't understand like, no, rent's not affordable anymore. The median home price in Marietta is like $500,000. Like, this is unacceptable. And the mayor, he comes out when he announces, and he's like, if we make the city too affordable, we'll make it unlivable. That's almost a direct quote. So that's like how I got into the political sphere. I skipped over a few things, but that is what led me, my personal experience led me to get into politics in the way that I did, and then want to be in a place where we let him retire. We're gonna let the mayor retire.
Yeah. So to say, I think you don't have to skip over anything. You know, we in here, we rocking. So you say you was in Rockdale when you was 12 or 13. Mm-hmm. Where did your folks come from? Where did y'all come from before that?
So I am a first generation American.
Okay, cool.
My parents are from Jamaica.
Okay.
Whole entire family's from Jamaica. I think I have one aunt that was born here. But yeah, they came, working class story. They came here. My grandma, you know, she's a florist. She worked many jobs. She started some of her own businesses. And then my family, they lived over in Bridgeport, Connecticut, in that area. I was born in Michigan, but I moved before I have any memory, so don't ask me what Michigan was like. So, you know, we lived over in Bridgeport for a while, and very immigrant community, very immigrant city, biggest city in Connecticut. And, you know, my grandma, she bought a home down in Georgia, so that was why we all moved. Most of my family's in Georgia now. Some of them are in Connecticut. I got one cousin in Texas, and then one family in Florida.
Oh, yeah, that's lit.
So, yeah, when we came to Rockdale, that was when we moved to Georgia. And, you know, it's Rockdale.
It is.
Nothing really to do over there.
Yeah, but surprisingly, though, we talk about this a lot. The beautiful thing about Atlanta is not only like how dense the Black population is here, but in the surrounding areas as well. But then you have those little spots like Kennesaw. You know, Cobb County has always been kind of like a 50-50 thing with Black folks. Black folks is kind of like,
they're like, we don't know if we like you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's a little, you know what I mean? But I think my experience in working in Cobb County for a while, and then just a lot of traveling, like when I did sports and things like that, it's just like, it's big, but it's like small, like in the sense of like, it's big because it's hard to get around if you don't got a car. And I think a lot of places like that outside of the metro area, they don't do big investment in public transportation. I know in Kennesaw specifically, you can't even own a home if you don't own a gun. So that automatically makes where felons can't own a home out there, nor vote. So did you have any experiences, and when you were in college, you went to KSU, did you have any experiences in college, like while you were studying to become an engineer, that led you to like, you know what, I need to be in like these local politics out here, because I think the more important thing for me and having you in here is just to talk about making local politics a priority for people. I think we kind of look for the big show every 4 years, where I'm not gonna say our vote doesn't matter. I would say it's a little least effective as far as what our day-to-day life is going to be like. I think with somebody like
the
Trump,
stakes are like different, right? Like when you're voting in that big election, like I know when I went and voted for Kamala, I'm like, this is not going to turn, whatever. But when you're voting for mayor of Marietta, or you're voting for like city council, I know there's a bunch of city council races going on in Atlanta, literally hundreds of votes, thousands of votes. You tell a friend, you get, your friends tell their friends, 50 people could swing the election.
For sure.
So yeah, to your point, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think looking at some of these policies and seeing if it's reflective of what you want to see in your community, but also like just what direction you want to take the city in. We was talking about that a little before we started airing about like how Cop City was, but this is like these are local midterm elections. When we had Stephen Dingle in here, a big point that I made with him is just that the everyday working class person, students, they don't know about like city halls. They're not privy. If they're not privy to the information, or it just comes in as spam almost, where it's like, so the only people that are really invested in like local politics and city halls usually are people that are retired, or people that's like HOA folks and stuff like that, like people that just kind of like want to find a way to wield power, but not the people that it's actually going to affect on a day-to-day. They just live in their life, and they basically stay out of politics until every 4 years. So why was it important for you to not only engage in local politics, but also knowing that you are not like the standard candidate? You're not like, especially given Cobb County's reputation, you're not an old white guy. You know what I'm saying? You're not a homeowner. You know what I'm saying? You're not, you are actually on the very beginning of your adult working career, and you decide to go into like the highest level of local politics, being a mayor. So what was just some of your motivation in going in that direction? Do you have like full support from your family and things like that, and friends?
Yeah. It's crazy. They call me, they're like, Mr. Mayor, how are you? I'm like, not yet, dude. Hold on, give it some time. It's crazy. Like you would think, like people ask me like, did you do political science, in college? I'm like, no. When I was in school, that's the experience that you're talking about. People, they're in these situations, right? And we're so focused on national. When your life sucks, you're like, oh, let me blame the president. You're not thinking of like, why is there this pothole in the road? Why does MARTA not expand? Why, there's no bike lanes, whatever. Why is housing unaffordable? You don't think, let me call my city council member. Let me call the mayor. Let me go to city hall. Because one, a lot of people don't know what they do. And then two, you don't think they have any power. So when I was in college, I was just, going to school, and there were some things I'm like, why is housing so expensive? Why, when I was walking to the bus stop, I'm like, why is it so uncomfortable? I didn't even have a bike yet. I did get a car eventually when I was in college after the first 2 months, because my mom's like, Sam, you have to. Because I was like walking home in the rain after I got off the bus. She's like, Sam. Yeah. But when I graduated, because I saw something special in Marietta, so I graduated, and then I moved to the west side of Marietta, which is where they do a lot of investment. I started to like notice all of these different things about like, oh, like this is Marietta is like the county seat, and it is one of the examples of a historic city that's been intentionally developed over decades, over a very long time. And me experiencing that, and then me actually buying a bike, and then me trying to get around the city that way, experiencing the city through that lens, it eventually led me to be like, this sucks. I can't get around safely. And there's so much I love about the city, but I can only experience it in one way. And there are other things I don't like, dealing with public transit and affordability. So then I was like, okay, let me get with this community group at the time called the Better Cobb. And I helped found it into a nonprofit. We're a 501c4. Which means we can get involved with politics. And we focused on housing affordability, safe streets, and public transit. And what we realized, we're there for all of these fights, right? We're there for the zoning stuff. We were there for the transit referendum last year. And we realized, we were like, oh my God, we have to replace these people because they are not listening. They will not listen. Like, it's not that they're bad people. Some of these people are Democrats. and I'm not going to name any specific person, but it is the mentality that change is slow and we have to grind the gears. And, 5-10 years down the line, maybe we'll get what we want, or maybe we'll fit into the budget. And it's this process of we can't change our minds because we have this idea of what local government looks like, and it is not visionary. It's not bold. So when we're dealing with all these different crises, like we're going through a cost of living crisis right now, there's nothing that the local government is even attempting to do. Even though we have control over that zoning, even though we have control over the transit system, we can, invest in other forms of transportation. We can even start more public services if we so chose to do so. But we're just not doing it. And, the mayor, his idea of success is driving people out of Marietta who cannot afford to live there because he believes they bring crime into the city. One of the projects that we engaged in was on Franklin Road, now known as Franklin Gateway. And that was like a blighted corridor in the city. Think of like, what parts of downtown Atlanta go through, or Auburn Avenue. But instead of what Atlanta has tried to do and invest in the corridor, he was like, we're going to destroy it. We're going to destroy 1.3 thousand units of affordable housing. We're going to build 2 soccer fields and a 33-acre vacant lot that IKEA is still sitting on. I think they're speculating on it, waiting to flip it and turn it for a profit. And I think it's unacceptable to wield power in that way. So when this election came up, I was like, I have to do it. Like, I felt this fire in me. I'm like, this man cannot be allowed to cruise or just, fifth term. He passed term limits and he's trying to run for a 5th term. He's trying to serve for 20 years and they passed term limits. He's grandfathered in. So I was like, he can't, this is not okay. Like, he is actively pushing people out of the city. He doesn't like multifamily housing. He doesn't like public transit. He doesn't care about, lower income or middle income people. This has to change. So that was what drove me to do it. And, when I started to understand and look away from the national level, because I honestly was getting blackpilled on like national politics, I started to realize like, oh, I have a commissioner. Oh, I have a city council member, a mayor. And once I understood the powers of what they can do, I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, this is where I have to focus my energy, because trying to focus on the national level, it is important, but it's not. People think it's quick. People think I can go to this protest. We saw in 2020, I can go to this protest. It's gonna make everything work. No, people build these things over decades. That's right. Why the conservatives are where they are right now. They started at the local level and they built up down that over decades. Newt Gingrich, he comes from Cobb County, and he was one of the most influential members in the House that led us to get to the politics that we have today. And there is no other way we get out of this without focusing on the local level, because it goes up. Power is grassroots.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think when we speak to affordable housing, when we speak to multifamily housing, public transit, I think the kind of lens that gets covered over that is a lens of pure racism, right? When we think about low income people needing public transit, especially here in Atlanta, the main thing that people are going to discuss is the homeless population or crime and things like that, which is all just a way to like point a finger at black people in a situation like that, where in a situation where you have a dense population of people that need to get around, and they need to get around locally, you causing traffic jams where you could eliminate 30 cars off that street with one bus. So imagine if it's 5-6 buses, you done cleared the highways up like significantly, right? If you have people that have an extension from MARTA into, because it is the Metro Atlanta Transit, and Marietta, Cobb County, Douglas County, Clayton County, DeKalb County are all Metro Atlanta cities, and if you were to extend the public transit out that way, it would be a lot easier for people to get around. It would be a lot more effective for people to get to and from work. It would kill all the traffic at Spaghetti Junction. It would kill all the traffic at the bottleneck of 285 on both sides, the 75 side and the 20 side. And I think that the old way of doing things is that we don't want these undesirable people in our cities. And 9 times out of 10, that's just some old white guy saying we don't want black people around here, or Mexicans, or whatever the case may be. But racism is not logical, right? So it removes all logic for the benefit of a very small population of people, and oftentimes the crime that they have in their mind is all imaginary. We know that poverty is a precursor to crime, and a lot of times it's people doing crime out of necessity for their basic needs.
Exactly.
I don't think it excuses the act, but I think that it's a symptom, and if you don't identify it as a symptom and you just identify it as a behavioral issue related to one group of people and not all groups of people, because all people participate in crime the same way, then you're going to do the city a disservice. You're going to tear down a historical district and put soccer fields there. Like, how much fucking soccer is being played? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, Americans are like dead last in the world in soccer anyway. You know, it's like, that's not our sport.
I went to the Atlanta Braves game earlier this year. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You feel something? But see, even in a situation like that, and the Cobb Link is a step towards progress, but it's also like not enough when those that like the Cobb County is vast, and it's like the way that things are districted out here is like, it's not in a grid way. It's a very like odd.
And they're doing cuts. Like, you know, we just had some cuts this year. They cut the one of the circulators over by Cumberland, and then they're cutting some of the commuter routes. The state of Georgia defunded Express, and now they're cutting the commuter routes. So it's like we're in this scenario where the federal government is exploding. They're taking away grant funding. So now the public transit systems are suffering, and they're going to get worse. And now this conversation is going to come up again of like, why are we investing in this, right? And it's so stupid because it's like, this is not charity. This is not like, oh, we're doing this because we think it's like fun and cool. You mentioned the traffic savings. Like, imagine if we didn't have to expand, you know, I-75 to 8 lanes. We didn't have to do that. We could just build a train. They're expanding GA 400. Just expand the train. What are we doing? You know, they're building top end 285 express lanes. Train. I don't.
Yeah, that's what that is at the. That's what that is at that meeting of 285.
Yeah.
And 20, right? They're building the top lane over top.
Yep.
It's all so. It's taxpayer dollars that's going into things that's not going to make anything better. Because when you are in Atlanta in and of itself is not designed to house this many people. So when you cutting off like all these historic districts and things just to throw up these high rises, you not only kill the culture of the city, but you kill the user experience, right? The experience of the citizen is like diminished, because I be telling people all the time, it's like one big Apple store. It's just like all commercialized, and they've gutted all the culture out of it, and they're going to continue to do things like that.
Gentrification.
Yeah, it's gentrification, but it's also like it's gentrification at the expense of who, though? Because on both sides of the coin, Republican and Democrat, they both stand.
They both agree with it.
They both stand to benefit from it because they sit in seats of privilege. So when we talk about like even the stalling of like progress takes time, this is a person that doesn't want to give up their privilege to do anything that's going to be beneficial to people that either don't look like them or don't have the same experience as them, right? It's a lot easier to look down on people when you feel like you've overcome certain obstacles, but like there's a slew of issues that play into like why people struggle in this society, right? Like there could be a mental health aspect of it. There could be defunding of like arts and creative cultures that most people would fall into. Even you as an engineer, I think that it's unique the way you're approaching it, because you're approaching it from a problem solving aspect, and that is engineering. It's just like just all day solving problems, right? And even if they are complex, it actually is a challenge. It represents a challenge that will seem fun to you because you have the brain of a person that wants to solve problems. And this is where I come to, and my idea of politics is like, I understand the benefit because we live in a capitalist society and the system is capitalistic. I understand how those things could be beneficial in a fundraising aspect and in a way of like actually getting money. I don't think that there's the individualism and the exploitative nature of it is never going to be willing to help anybody else, right? It's all just like, I'm going to take what I can and I'm going to push people out. And that's why, like, I lean more into, like, socialism, means of production type shit, like, where people that actually work get to reap the benefits of the production that they put out. But that's not the mentality of most people, especially once they reach a certain tax bracket. They don't give a fuck about people anymore. They only give a fuck about, like, lining their pockets, lining the pockets of their buddies. You don't have a traditional entry point to politics. So the biggest business owners in Cobb County probably fucking hate you. You know what I'm saying? The donators, you know what I'm saying? The people that, and basically all they're doing is lobbying. They probably fucking hate you. They don't want to deal with a Sam Foster.
You know, the mayor, he raised $20,000 in a single day from like 10 people. Yeah, literally, like corporations and like a single family gave him $10,000 on that day.
And because his policies are going to benefit that family and that family alone. And they're paying for their privilege, right? They're paying, and you look at other countries that are a lot more technologically advanced, and the benefit of them is they don't have the race issue that we have. They have more class issues, right? And at class issues,
the fight's different.
The fight is different, and also there is a benefit to helping each class because there's this idea in America that everybody wants to be a millionaire, and everybody wants to be rich, and that's because it sucks so much to be poor. So if there was a way of creating a space where people could get around affordably, and their housing was affordable, and it allowed them to invest in some of the amenities in their life, invest in mental health care services, have a decent insurance where if they get sick or their mother gets sick or their child gets sick, it's not going to tank them financially. If we would take care of our working class people, we would realize that, like, most people don't strive to be like uber rich and wealthy. And for those who do, they're going to do that anyway. Most people just want to live a comfortable life. People don't mind working.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to just sit at home all day. I think the idea of us being lazy comes from being overworked.
I like the idea of a 4-day work week.
Me too. And I think that when you have a population of people that's overworked, then rest seems like laziness, right? And
we are one of the hardest working countries on the planet, and it's like, what do we get from it, right?
Nothing.
No healthcare, no paid leave, like all this other stuff. And it's like, you work so hard. What do you get back from it? And I think, you mentioned like politicians are basically doing this for the fun of it. Like, they're getting rich off the stuff they're doing. It's also that they feel, all these issues. We mentioned homelessness, public transit. They want that big project under their name. They want this project to be like, I did this. So, for example, there are things going on in the city that I disagree with. I won't mention it, but there are things going on. And
don't fuck up the campaign.
Exactly.
When you get elected, you come down, you're gonna talk shit about it.
Exactly.
Because I before you get that, because I can think about what you're saying. They want those projects under their name. I think about Turner Field being moved to Cobb County as a win for Cobb County over Fulton County.
Exactly.
And I think that for the most part, working class people focus on the micro thing. And then when people get in politics, they focus on the macro aspect of things. It's like, it's bigger than just like, it's not because of like crime and poverty in Turner Field, where Turner Field's been there forever. It's more so like, okay, this is to the benefit of Cobb County and like what we trying to do, but also by taking that money that Turner Field brings into that area, we can actively continue to gentrify that area. And if you go over there in Mechanicsville, where that shit, it don't look the same. I don't like the idea of progress, meaning you have to push poor people out. I do like the idea of like things looking better, but investment into a certain section of the city should have always been there.
It's like, people, I feel like we have this problem in Metro Atlanta, especially in Marietta, where you are focused on appearances. Like, not everything is going to just be appearances. There are some things underneath the surface that you need to pay attention to. It's not just about building a brick sidewalk. It's not just about making everything look shiny or whatever. There are people hurting, and you can't just push them out and everything's going to be okay, you know? Like,
yeah.
We're talking about the Franklin Gateway project that I mentioned earlier. It's like, okay, that kind of just moved it down the street because where I used to live, like, that felt pretty much the same, and there's no investment there. We got like 4 gas stations on the same street, a motel. It's like you shove everything out of your purview. So all of the people who vote for you live in the area where everything is nice. So you don't have to focus on anything else. And those places can languish and they can suffer forever because you don't care. So when you have those big projects in your name, when you have the appearances of everything is fine, then you can say, look at everything I've done. Look at what we did, this and that. And it's kind of like the same thing at the national level where, and sometimes, you know, I guess let's say in the first term, nothing really changed, but the appearance of change, the appearance of, oh, I'm doing something, makes people feel excited. It keeps their base happy, and it keeps them in power, keeps getting them elected. And we've created this problem where we keep promising people these things. I'm sure, do you know about ATL trains? ATL trains? Yeah, stuff like that. That's not an official government plan or anything, but we keep like having these ambitions, these plans. There's been MARTA was supposed to expand to a certain amount. You know, the Beltline, the light rail is supposed to expand all this way, and for some reason, it's not a priority for us. We don't care because it's not immediate enough for me to politically benefit from it. And I think that's what drives a lot of the politics in Metro Atlanta or just generally in the country.
Yeah, this is a micro of the macro issue, right? In Atlanta. It should be an example for people, and to me is an example of cities that sell out for corporate interests, and they gut all of their culture. They gut everything that makes them what they are, and now it's just a playground for corporations. And this should be, for all intents and purposes, is one of the most walkable cities in the country, but it's not. The structuring of the interstate in Atlanta is at its core racist as fuck. It splits up like several different black communities.
South of I-20.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think the reason why I talk mostly my podcast is directed to black people. It's going to stay that way. It was built that way because I care about what our interests are. I care about voicing my opinions on what our interests are. And I care more than anything about, for one, like having somebody like you on. We had the Jam podcast on yesterday. Those young guys are really big into politics. But they also speak to an experience of like a lot of first generation people because we want to dispel all these diaspora wars. Like a lot of my goal here is about unifying, liberating black people in their minds first. And then seeing that put into action actively in societies, right? So if the game that we have to play is a bipartisan game, and we understand that it doesn't work for us on the macro, we need to focus on how it can work for us in the micro. You are an example of that, right? Stephen Dingle is an example of that. A lot of my local politicians in Douglasville are an example of that. And I think that if you make things better for the citizens, then you will realize like how much you've been undermining the value and how resilient people are.
I think to your point about like basically the black struggle, right? There's this mind poison a little bit that, you know, racism is over. We did it. You know, we passed the Civil Rights Act. We did this and that. And it's like, okay, then why per capita are more black people homeless? Why is the median income for black people like $63,000, but for a white person it's like $30,000 higher? What is going on here? Why are certain parts of Atlanta, you know, run down, or like in Marietta, they're run down, and black people just so happen to live there? What's going on here?
Yeah, and it's a way of reinforcing a stereotype where it's like if we gut all funding, if we squeeze, like we're gonna squeeze the water, like we're gonna shut the water hose off when it comes to these areas, and then we're gonna complain about the weeds, and we're gonna complain about like their soil is bad, just like from a pure like metaphorical and analogy standpoint. But the thing is like these are things that are systemically and structurally done. And then you see the results of systemic and structural racism, and then you blame the people that are suffering up under it. And you can't say that it's a lack of like hard work. You can't say it's a lack of resilience or just a want, because you see how successful Black people can be in spaces like Atlanta and in all metro cities of Atlanta. But you also see, like, on the flip side of that, an extreme struggle of people that aren't necessarily outliers. You know what I'm saying? Like, people shouldn't have to like display like pure excellence to just be getting along. You know what I'm saying? Like, there should be something for the everyday average person to be able to get by and to like have some pride in what they do and have upward mobility as well. And it's the same promise that they make to Americans every time again, and then they move the goalposts once people who that promise wasn't necessarily for start seeing success in those promises.
Speaking of, you mentioned how the interstate was racist. And, you know, just look at where it cut through, but where it goes. And we have a scenario where a lot of white people fled Atlanta because now they have the interstate. They're like, oh, I can escape the city now. I just have to drive into work and then I'm done. That's why downtown is the way it is right now. Those people created their suburbs that had it, and, you know, so primarily white. And as soon as Black people started getting that economic mobility and they started to diversify Cobb County, diversify Gwinnett, now we're sitting in a scenario where all this stuff you built, trying to escape the city, or this life that you had, it's not what it is anymore, because now everyone is suffering the same. Like, we are all on the same level now. You're hurting the entire area to have this thing for yourself. But eventually, the people that you're putting down are going to rise up to the level that you're at, and now it's all the same. And you know, when we try to fix it, they're going to be like, oh, you're trying to bring those people here. Dude, they're already here. Marietta is a majority minority city. Like, they're already here. It's done.
Yeah, Gwinnett too. And so what they do is like they create these safe havens, and then when people are able to like like you said, economically afford to live in those areas, then they create these like small pockets for themselves. And this is where you get like places like Alpharetta from, and this is where you get Kennesaw from, and things like that, where it's like, okay, well, we'll create a city and we'll make the rules so like crazily structural that like not only will you not be able to afford to live here, but like the thing to me about like Kennesaw that is, it's just funny to me that like you've priced people out. You make sure that felons can't live there because it's that gun ownership thing. And where I think like, okay, well, of course you don't have any like home invasions. Nobody's gonna go into a house where they know guns are. But there's also this thing of like the Second Amendment doesn't necessarily reflect or benefit Black people in the same way, where we've seen just the other day, Terrence Crawford got pulled over after his parade, and they drawing guns on him because they see guns in the car, but he has security detail with him. They're all legal firearms.
And we can take it way back to like, you know, a long time ago in California. Oh, when the Black people show up with guns and they open carry. Oh, yeah. Now,
the Panther
now we got to
Party,
crack
right.
down.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? There's this thing of like, the racism in itself is a mental health issue. Like, it's a literal like mind disease, because it doesn't benefit anybody. And the small people that it benefits, they have to continually change the rules. So it's like even a psychosis at some point where it's like, it's never going to work because you got to keep moving the goalposts. And at the end of the day, it's like only going to be beneficial to like a very, very, very small population. And it eventually affects them or prices them out as well. So like, even to the point where what you were saying is like, well, people are resilient and people have risen up. So like all these blockades that you've put in people's way, they get over them, and now they're just as they're in the economic competition with you. So now you got to change the rules again. Then you start hurting the people that look like you. Then you start hurting the people who once were your, you know, like comrades and shit, like, you know, because the way that rich people operate is in a socialist communist way. You know what I'm saying? They get bailouts, but those bailouts come from the taxpayers.
And it's funny, like, you have kids in like Marietta, right? And they grow up, and then you create a city that's so unaffordable, they can't even afford to move back. So now you're stuck there, and your kids are like, I'm moving to Atlanta. They're like, shoot, I'll move somewhere else. I'll move to like Paulding County because it's cheaper over there.
You'll say, oh, these kids, they just don't have the work ethic we had. Like, you had everything handed to you. You lived in a premier time where working class people could have upward mobility. Working class people could afford a home and 2 cars and healthcare and groceries and still have some extra stuff left over.
And like a home was $60,000.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this was the premier American dream. And unfortunately, the premier American dream was for middle class white people and everything above that.
And I would say, you know, this discussion is like the story of Metro Atlanta, right? And now we're trying to turn the tide on it. And there's this like racist element that we have to confront. And when we say racism, like people get offended. They're like, what do you mean? Like, we're not saying you're racist. It's like the very ground that we stand on, the rules, the way society has been built. It has created a scenario where you can literally see it when you walk around town, the areas that are disinvested and the areas that are invested in, who just so happens to live there. And there's something there that we need to change. And it's hurting people from all backgrounds.
And that's the thing. And, you know, Toni Morrison in one of her speeches was talking about how racism is just a waste of everybody's time because of how exhausting it is. And because like it will eventually find its way to you. Even if you are not the intended target, it will find its way to you because oftentimes it's bigger than just a color. It's an economic thing too. So we try to keep people out from out of sight of a financial bubble or out of a financial threshold. And eventually, if we have to keep raising that threshold, it's going to start to affect people that look just like you. White people are starting to see that a lot now with like the things that the executive orders that Trump passes. It's not just going to affect. It's not just going to affect Black people. It's going to affect the everyday person, regardless of color. Then it becomes a huge class issue. But if you can't get over the race issue in and of itself, or want to address it like earnestly, because it's something that has to be talked about. Like, you can't sit here and talk about how the building is falling apart, but you don't want to discuss how shitty the foundation is. And that foundation is eventually going to crack more and more and more over time. So, yeah, the building is at a slope, and it's not supposed to sit like that. And it's like, oh, it's just because it's an old building. And it's like, no, there's a lot of old buildings that still stand because they had a structural foundation. They had a sound foundation. This foundation over here is shitty, and you knew it was shitty, and you still built on top of it. And you took a lot of shortcuts because the people that wanted that top floor of the building just kept throwing money in it for you to like speed up the process. And a lot of times that people look at it like a thing of complaining. Like, I don't understand how I can complain about the truth.
And then you gotta like, people are like, oh, you know, I can't do anything about that. Or like, oh, I guess that's a national issue. You're like, no, dude.
You absolutely can do something about
like, it's all of the stuff that we're talking about just now is local.
It's all local shit.
They're zoning people out of here. Like, it's modern day. It's just modern day, like, exclusion. Like,
yeah. It's redlining. It's more than anything.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, when you walk down the block and your entire environment changes, that's not normal.
That's
like,
not.
You shouldn't be able to walk into a neighborhood.
So
and run
it's
down.
like that. What's that? Hold on, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where my mind starts.
Let's do the research.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm trying to think of an analogy as well.
It's not a.
Oh, it's like an actual.
It's a book. It's a book of poetry.
Color of Law?
No, it's Shel Silverstein. Where the Sidewalk Ends. So this is a book of poems, but it's a literary reality of new development into like extreme underdevelopment and abandoned projects. It literally happens where the sidewalks end. So there's a new development of walkability, right? And where the sidewalk end is literally like where things weren't even developed 4 feet. They don't even want you walking.
We have that all around. Man,
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's odd to build a sidewalk that you never intended to be for walking. It's only for aesthetics. Because if you get from the point where like this is the walk, this is the sidewalk, and literally where it ends is like, here's the white line of the highway, here's the grass, here's a ditch. It's not even designed for you to walk on it. Why the fuck is it there in the first? It's not even supposed to be there. It's literally there to give you the illusion of progress. Because in order to make it for people, and the bigger thing about Georgia, and especially outside of the metro Atlanta area, is like, you know exactly what financial state a person is in if you see them walking. you know they're fucked up. Like, you know they're probably going through some of the worst times in their life financially if you see them walking. Because if you see people walking in the city, you see them on a belt line. You see them in workout gear. You see them in things. When you see people walking outside of Metro Atlanta, you see them in work uniforms. So now we're talking about like effect of like how public transit has failed people or its refusal to help people under this filter of racism and class warfare. Honestly, it's just like one of those things of like, fuck them, they're poor.
And then we have this like mindset too, where there are certain politicians who are out of the goodness of their heart, they're like, we have to invest in this thing for poor people. It's like, no, we have to invest in it for everybody. When the people who traditionally have benefited from the system how it is today start using the thing you created, that's when you succeed. Creating it so that it's a feedback loop. The rich people should be on the same bus and train as the poor people.
For sure.
It's public transit. It's not poor transit. It is public transit.
Yeah,
you know,
and,
the library,
and that's the way that it's designed.
Rich people don't feel weird about going to the library. Rich people don't
Absolutely
feel weird
not.
about going to a public pool. Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
And in Cobb County, we've created this scenario. It's worse than transit. No, it's not the worst. Probably that's a little bit worse, but I might get in trouble for saying that. But Cobb County, we have a scenario where today we have buses running once every hour. We have buses on the weekday running 30 minutes. Like, this is unacceptable. I miss the bus sometimes going to school, and I'm like, oh, now I'm 30 minutes late for class. Who's going to take the bus? No one, except for the people who have no other option. And then, the people who have no other option just happen to look a certain way. So it's all of these systems compounding on each other. And when somebody wants to fix it, they approach it in a way where they're like, okay, we have to help those people first. It's like, no, the bus has got to run 5 to 10 minutes on the most used routes, period. End of story. Like, that's just how it's got to be. And we can't keep creating these systems where it's like, we're going to make this carve out. We're going to like, no, you got to make it so it's usable because it's useful, not usable because people who have no other option are using it.
Absolutely. Well, so it gets me to this point, right? New York is the greatest city on earth, right? But it has one of the best public transportation systems where literally businessmen and homeless people are on the same train. And honestly, if we don't want to address the mental health issues of those homeless people or the financial insecurities of those people and how you've literally priced people out of being able to participate in a working class society, that's one thing. But at least structurally, it's beneficial to every involved, right?
It's the most convenient way to get around.
It's the most convenient way to get around. Taxis, you know, as much as you still will deal with traffic and congestion, there's millions of people there. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, I think, like, how many people are in, like, just New York City alone? I think it's like 1.8 million. So it's like, there's a thing to that. But then Chicago, San Francisco. I noticed that in places where they invest the most in public transportation, corporate people pulled all of their money out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the BART system is probably one of the best public transportation systems in this country, right? They also so happen to have the largest homeless population, but if you have to reinvest into that part of it too, like, that's a part of it too. That homelessness is not a reflection of a people thing, it's a reflection of housing.
You notice how we tore down a bunch of the projects in Marietta. We tore down all the projects in Marietta. I know they did in Atlanta as well. Then we tear down a bunch of housing, affordable housing. And then we're sitting to ourselves like, why are there more homeless people now? Like, what's going on? Where did this come from? Like, dude, this is you. You did this. I don't. This is
the thing about me is like the rhetoric of things. And the more of one of the most like damaging things about like racism and white supremacy is it puts this lens on things that people aren't virtuous because they're not white, right? Like, their lack of virtue is because they're not white. And then when it starts affecting white people, it's like, well, hold up. You know what I'm saying? I don't have white privilege. It's like, no, motherfucker, you got tricked. And the better that these other groups start to perform, if they rise above you and you haven't been resilient because you've been virtuous just because of the basis of your skin color, then you miss the point of like, you for one, you don't know history. The Reconstruction era post abolition of slavery, we start to see that black people were formulating their own middle class. This is where all these Black Wall Streets and they
shut it down real quick.
They shut it down quick because black people had all the skills. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, hold on, well, what the fuck is that? I can't get a job because I can't compete. Mm-hmm. And capitalism is supposed to be about competition until it's not benefiting the people that it was designed to benefit. So for me, it's like, we have to continue to address these things through the lens of how they were created so that they can create. And it's like, yeah, people may feel some type of way. Nobody wants to feel like a villain, but it's like, I'm not trying to villainize you. You have to be honest about your participation in these things. Just like I will talk about like accountability amongst men, but I'll also be honest about the times I participate in like misogynistic behavior and shit like that, because I understand like systemically I was groomed to be misogynistic. I grew up in a patriarchal society. I have to be mindful and accountable to the actions that I participate in or have turned a blind eye to in order for things to get better. And I have to speak about it from a position of somebody that is not only has been a participant, but is acting as somebody who wants to help change things. And if you don't address it from the perspective of how it affects women the most, then you're not going to change anything. If you want to just be a good guy, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, most times good guys are just like, I'm honestly just a coward.
I thought I was a good guy. What are you talking about?
You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but it's like, we're not talking about you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's another thing too, is like, people conflate issues in society with their own individualistic path. And it's like, no, you are a part of something bigger than yourself. And the way that people behave outside of you also is a reflection of you because you're a part of something.
I was like one of the voters in Marietta, like they came up to me. I was at this coffee shop. I was just talking to somebody who had a meeting, and they're like, "You're making Marietta look like a shithole." I'm like, "Bro, I have the money to move out of here. I love this city. What are you talking about?" When you're critical of something, when you're like, this is where we can improve, you are the best person that place needs because you're the one who's going to improve it. People want you to be like, oh, this place is great, nothing needs to change. They just need some tweaks around the edges. Like, people are suffering all around the country, bro. In Atlanta, Marietta, Georgia, like people are suffering. I have somebody who's, I knocked on their door. This was yesterday. Knocked on their door, talked to them. They're like, oh yeah, I'm working 2 jobs. I make $85,000 at my day job, but you know, I'm going through medical debt right now, so I'm working a second job to pay that off. In what society is that okay? And I never hear any of this talked about when we're like, yeah, let's just improve some tourism. Let's build this brick sidewalk. Let's make things look nice. What are we doing to improve the conditions for people who are actually suffering? And when you point this out, people are like, you're saying this place is racist. You're saying this place is unaccepting. No, I am saying that these things are because of those things, and we need to change it. And I'm not saying anything about you. I'm saying things about the system and the ground that we stand on.
Yeah, well, so a lot of people's approach to things is the approach of a landlord. All right? Mm-hmm. I have vacancy in this spot. I want a tenant, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of going in and saying, okay, we got a couple of electrical issues, we got some plumbing issues, this thing needs, it needs this, it needs that. You know what? Just slap a fresh coat of paint on it.
Landlord special, let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? Let's just slap a fresh coat of paint on it. Make sure you heavily filter the pictures. You know what I'm saying? Have you you've been seeing that like when they put the pictures on like Zillow and shit like that?
Bro.
They OD filtering that shit.
It's not even
grass ain't that green,
It's
brother.
not even filtered. They build out Blender, dude. They get the 3D render. You can't even see the photo. My first apartment that I got when I moved to Marietta, looking at all these, I went in there, they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a leak." And they're just still touring, like there's water falling down the ground. We were touring the apartment that we moved into. They didn't show us the apartment until the day we moved in. We could not see the apartment. Like, what is this? They're putting up all these photos. They're like, oh, whoa. And when you get in the apartment, it's like, oh, the air conditioning went out during the summer. Oh, there's roaches everywhere. These people, like, I was just going off on a rant, but like, it's so ridiculous how like you're in such a position where you have no power to fight back against these people and they could do whatever they want. They're like, nah, I think you'll see the apartment like after you sign these documents for the lease. Like what?
Fuck no. Well, and so, but that's a micro of a macro issue is that we want to just slap a fresh coat of paint on things and say it's over. No. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit of like in horror. That's the shit that happens in horror movies. Like, oh, there's a possessed doll in here. Let's not address that fact that the doll is possessed by like a legion of demons. Let's put it behind bricks. Put sheetrock and new wall on it. Yeah. And then now behind that wall and behind those bricks is a legion of demons that are like attached to this fucking doll. But it's fine. It's behind two walls. No, it's still there, motherfucker. And if I get curious enough and start to peel back the layers, and then we address a legion of demons, I'm not the fucking issue here. The person that put it there is the problem. And why aren't we addressing that? So the way that we like to gloss over things in society and the way that people will fawn over more developed countries on social media and like, man, we could have these things in America. Yeah, we can have these things in America if we address America properly and directly. And you go to therapy and you hear some things about yourself that you don't want to hear. A lot of things are, and the therapist is always going to go back to childhood. They're going to address things at the root. And that's what we're going to have to do if we want to change things in this country. We have to address things at the root. People don't want to talk about slavery, but it is your history.
That's why they try to ban talking about it. That's why they're like, oh, they're migrants. They're not slaves. They're migrants.
Well, let's talk about the just Atlanta Railway and the role that it played in slavery. I mean, but that's another thing. It's just like, oh, this is one of the oldest and most historic railways in the country. Why?
I don't know. Why?
Oh, we needed one thing shit from one place to another. What was on those trains?
Bill, you asked you the question. He's like, it just happens to be that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so I think it's very noble what you're doing. I think I want to ask you, what is the support that you've felt? I know that sometimes social media support is great, but it's not necessarily reflective of where you live because social media is everywhere in America. And you may be a representative of change that people want to see, but how have you seen that reflected locally?
Man, it is, the more people hear and see me, the more they like me. Yeah. And I think that speaks to a lot because the mayor, he is, as far as we know, literally not campaigning right now. He just puts up yard signs. He thinks he's going to cruise to victory. We'll see about that in 4 weeks. And every time I go out in public, people are like, they like, I get recognized. Yesterday, this is a funny story. I was like walking and I'm like accidentally knocked down some glasses at Walmart. And the worker comes up and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I have to pay for this? She's like, no. I'm like, do I know you? And she was like, oh, you're running for mayor. I'm like, that happens to me every single day. Like, people recognize me out in public. We are doing multiple like events around Marietta. It's like, the social media stuff, I did not expect it to have such a local like lens on it. Yeah. People are literally, we're knocking on doors. Somebody answers like, oh, I know Sam. I saw him on Instagram. Like, it's hitting Marietta.
That's great.
And it's so surreal. Like, people want pictures with me. They're excited to see me. We did a meet and greet yesterday. People were like, let me take a picture. I was like late to an event. Oops. I'm sorry, team. And as I was walking back, somebody's like, wait, are you Sam Foster? And they're like, can I get a picture? It's like, so the response has been very positive. I'm shocked at like how the social media stuff has translated to on the ground like excitement. Of course, that's not going to win us the election, but I think it definitely speaks to like where people are getting their news from now and like the collapse of traditional media. Because like way back when it would have been the local paper that, you know, makes or breaks your race. But so far we've raised, you know, I've been public about this. We're close to raising $40,000. We've at least raised like $38,000. Nothing from the local paper. They've said nothing. And to put that into context, like at this point last time, I don't think either candidate raised that much. So it's like, we're doing all of these things. I'm everywhere. Like, I'm doing all these things. I'm 24 years old, never run for office before. And silence. Only 11 Alive, and then obviously local podcast. Thank you, Deontay. And it's surreal, you know, like how social media definitely is fueling a lot of things, actually we're having to decentralize attention centers now.
Absolutely.
People can be in their own little, for good and bad, people can be in their own little universes. And, you know, we got CNN, Fox, they think they control everything. It's like, no, somebody can go down this deep, deep rabbit hole. And they're like talking about like the shape of pebbles or something. And it's a whole community. And like, you would never know until like you waltz into that. And it's like, oh, this is like 300,000 people. So that was kind of like the surprise for me, and like the reaction when I started to ramp things up. And the story of how the social media stuff started is kind of weird. A lot of those videos, if you go like to the early part, I would just pull out the camera. On the last campaign, I got paid a little bit, so I like, all right, I'm gonna buy a little camera. I got an Osmo Pocket 3. Ooh, that's a fire ringtone. I got an Osmo Pocket 3. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then this campaign would come up. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to bike around the city and start recording videos. So I would just bike down to the park, do a whole bunch of takes, record a video. I'm like, all right, let me put this out the next day. And then just going up. I'm like, okay. And it's like, that's all it takes. That's literally all it takes.
Well, I mean, because also, too, your constituents are on the phone.
Exactly.
I think the more congested things get and the less affordable things are, a lot of people seek refuge in these digital third spaces. Local third spaces are a thing that I would really like to see like revived. I try to participate as much as I can. Like one of my biggest things is like being known at my local coffee shop. My local coffee shop is Black owned. Shout out to Kumba Coffee Shop.
There we go.
But they also have a workspace there. So like, it's like eventful, you know what I mean? Like you go in, people know you, you get your drink, you answer your emails, but there's also like very positive and forward moving conversations that happen in spaces like that can really affect change in a micro way because people leave from those conversations different and changed. And I think what you do is the same thing. Like, I think that there needs to be a de-celebrity position that we take when it comes to politics. I think we've over-celebrity politics to the point where we don't even want to see ourselves reflected in our politicians, right? And then we want to complain about them not being relatable. It's because
we deified them. Like
exactly.
Even the people I like I won't name them obviously, but like think of like your favorite politician on the left or whatever.
That's an odd thing to say. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's odd to even have a favorite politician.
Exactly. Like
you know what I'm saying?
Bro, the thing I like
politics.
The thing I like about local government so much, we don't talk about Trump, we don't talk about Kamala. We just go there, they talk about zoning. I'm like, this is my thing. And now it's starting to change because, the federal government's doing their thing. But sure. Like, dude, it should just be, I should just be able to call my city council member and be like, yo, there's a pothole on my street. They're like, okay, I'll look into that. Like, everybody should be able to talk to their local politician. And it should just be like direct want translated into what you see in reality. And we don't have that. And the reason, because we don't have that, we're looking to these people in power and we're deifying them. We're like, okay, you're going to finally be the person to change that. It's not really a proper thing to say, like, don't deify me either. No one person could do anything.
Yeah. It takes a conglomerate and it takes a collective effort. I also say this. I want to address this. Government websites suck.
Oh, Jesus, yes.
They suck. They're not user-friendly. They don't solve any of my fucking problems anytime I try to use them. They're old, they're outdated, they all look like they were made in 2006 and they just stayed that way. Let's judge it up. You know what I'm saying? Let's like spruce it up.
Have you seen the Marta Breeze Card website?
No.
Look it up right now. I think it's going to make you laugh.
Oh, yeah, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, what is this?
That's like actually where you go and put money on your Breeze Card online.
I would never do this. This is like a place where you would get scammed.
Literally. Like...
It's just like...
Oh, that's like 1995.
Yeah, this is literally like page 404 not found shit. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
That is like... some of the stuff that we're dealing with. Not all government websites are like that, but that is the level of like acceptable service that some people think government should be at.
And I think that there's an idea of like politics and posturing that people do. People do things for the optics of them, and it's like, how about you create an optical experience for people, like when they are on your website. Speaking of, let's do some plugs, because I want to. How far are you done campaigning as of right now?
No, we're going all the way up until November 3rd, and then November 4th
is election. So right now we're in early.
Early voting is on October 14th.
Early voting is October 14th, so we still got time to get people registered and things like that.
October 6th.
October 6th is the date. Last
statewide.
What's today, Ferg?
28th, yeah.
We got to put this out Wednesday, then.
Man, I wish we had a same day
voter registration
in Georgia. We had same day voter registration in Georgia.
How long does it typically take?
To register to vote?
Yeah.
You can go online, register in like 5 minutes.
Okay, so as soon as you register, so what do you mean same day voter registration?
So like,
same day you go to the
you go to the polls and they're like, all right, you're not registered, cool, let me register you. We don't have that in Georgia. I wish we did.
So we're gonna put this out on Wednesday. We'll just double up. We'll do 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I'll announce that.
Thank you.
I'll make a video to announce that, because as it drops, people will only have 2 days to register. But we'll create a link to register and things like that. And also to make people more aware of their local politics and get registered for that. How can people help with your fundraising and your campaign? So this is you right here, baby.
This is right here. So my website is samformarietta.com. You'll find a donate button on there. And on all of our social media pages, you can click the link in the bio, and that will take you to where you can donate. Right now, we are trying to raise as much money as possible to stay as aggressive as possible, because the mayor is rich. He has rich friends, and he has quick access to money. So even if you can only give $25, $10, $50, it all counts. A lot of our donors have come from small dollar donations. The vast majority of our money has come from people giving less than $100. So don't think that you don't have an impact. You can also come out to Marietta up I-75, or if you live in Marietta, you can come over and you can help us canvass, knock on doors, because that is the best way to reach voters. Direct voter contact is so important for this race, because I need to get the name ID in order to beat a 4-term incumbent. So those are the main ways that you can help. Also, sharing me on social media helps as well. Sam for Marietta on all platforms.
Hell yeah. Also, the one thing that we talk about here is the Power of a Dollar initiative, right? So on average, on our let's see where we are right now. So, channel is 6 years old today. Cool.
That's dope.
Yeah, thank you, man. Let's see here. I want to look at this, something specific. Okay, so today is Sunday. Our episode that went out Wednesday is at 56K views on YouTube. So I talk about the Power of a Dollar initiative, right? If 56,000 people was to give $1. $56,000. That is the direct impact of people in doing your part. You know what I mean? Of course, if you wanted to give more, give more. But when we start talking about wanting to see ourselves reflected in government, and when we start talking about wanting to see our interests reflected in our local government, somebody like a Sam Foster is directly going to impact things like that. Fundraising is going to be a big thing, because for somebody like you say, the mayor being rich and having rich friends, if it took for Sam to sit here with me for an hour and a half to raise $50,000 because each person gave $1, but he can just make one phone call and get $50,000, then you understand what type of fight we up against. But the way that you would utilize and optimize your money versus somebody who money means nothing to is two totally different things. Mm-hmm. So I think that the importance of us acting locally, because there's also an idea, and it's an idealistic idea of let's just tear it all down and start all over, right? And I don't think people understand, like, functionally, it probably won't be rebuilt until long after you're dead. things take a lot of time. You can destroy something like that, right? It's like trust. Trust can take years to build up. One decision can end it all, right? America was built over the course of however many years, and and it didn't look like this until just recently. You know what I'm saying? So these have been things that have been put in place structurally over years and years and years of time, and the idea of just destroying everything is an anarchist idea. And I fuck with it sometimes because sometimes it feels like it would just be better to just burn it all to the ground. But I think that you got to play in the game that you're in. We didn't choose to be born here, but we definitely are choosing to stay here and wake up every day and make a choice to live here. And I think that that's not where the choice is in. The choice to make a change is a choice that we can make every day, right? I think that if we look at this from a perspective of people who want to make change and historically have made change, it came from a local level. Structurally, the civil rights movement was an idea that Martin Luther King got from Gandhi, right? And nonviolent protests, right? And they used that blueprint carry over to America and affected change everywhere they went locally, right? The Montgomery bus boycott was an extremely local thing that set a blueprint for things nationally. So the way that the Panthers organized and did things in Oakland affects things nationally. The same thing could be said about Fred Hampton, John Africa, Like, the people that were trying to affect things in the neighborhood that they were from, in the city that they were from, create blueprints and templates and structures for how you do things everywhere if it's effective enough.
And
right?
I think we have a problem today where a lot of us feel powerless, or a lot of us feel like the real power is not in how they traditionally do it. We have to do it a different way. No, you see what the other side's doing? Dude, they're going on college campuses. They're forming these groups. They're doing this. They're doing that. Like, they've built the infrastructure. We're starting from zero. Like, you have to go and build that stuff. Though but way back in the day, the Black Panthers, the Civil Rights Movement, they were meeting in churches. They were doing all this stuff. You cannot create a movement with just one person. You can't create a movement with spontaneous actions. It has to be long progress that you build from the ground up. And that means we got to get me elected, but we also have to get other people like me elected all across Metro Atlanta and all across the country to fight what is going on right now into the future. Because it can't just be this one moment that we're fighting. We're fighting a fight for decades. We're picking up where the last guy left off. We are a part of the same fight that they were fighting in the Civil Rights Movement. It is still here today.
Sam, what stops you, if elected, from falling into the same path that's been laid in front of you?
I think that what really stops me from going down that path is where the power comes from. So the only way that I'm going to be able to win is to appealing to people who have not traditionally voted in these municipal elections, or the people who believe in a different type of politics in Marietta. If I upset them, the next person they come up, I'm going to lose.
Yeah, for sure.
Politicians respond to power and they respond to money. My money comes from people and my power comes from everyday regular people. I'm not an establishment candidate. As long as my power stays there, I will always be accountable to those people or they'll kick me out. Especially with how this race is. I mean, we're talking about 10,000 votes. You know, if a couple thousand people decide, Sam messed up, like I can't show up for him anymore. Bye. I'm gone.
Yeah.
So I think that really keeps you accountable. And then also, like, just my personal experiences, how I experienced the city, you know, I told you I came around the train today, like, that's me. I've never been a type of person who's like, okay, I've gotten to this next level, now I got to do this or that. You know, I didn't show up to here today in a suit, for example. I always try to have my ear to where people are, and I always try to be connected to what's going on. You know, when I'm talking about improving the bus system, I take the bus. I literally sit on the bus where the bus is running ahead of schedule, and they sit there at the bus stop for like 3 minutes. They're like, oh yeah, we got to stop because we're ahead of schedule. Like, I am on the bus when that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm not just, you know, coming in here. It's not just a flashy campaign. I am of the people, for the people, and by the people. And as long as those people support me, then I will always continue to operate that way.
Great, man. One more thing if elected, when you're elected.
There we go.
Yeah, when you're elected.
Yeah.
What is one of the first things that you could see practically that you could change just right away?
So a lot of it's funny, people ask me how you're going to pay for it. A lot of the stuff I want to do is actually just words on paper. So a lot of the zoning policies that, we briefly touched on, how you walk down a block and it's just like, whoa, what happened? That's a lot of stuff I want to immediately change. And some of the infrastructure things we have when it comes to walkability and bikeability, I have some really good ideas on how we could quickly change those things without requiring lots and lots of money, millions of dollars. So I think those are some of the things I want to do first. And then the downstream effect of that, because people hear zoning, they're like, what does that mean? Affordability. When we allow zoning to be different, when we allow things to look different, like you go to some of the historic neighborhoods in Atlanta or some of the places that they are falling apart, those places were allowed to organically develop. We don't allow that anymore. If somebody's building something, they got to be a giant corporation. They got to come and build a giant subdivision or whatever in Cobb County, and that's unaffordable. If we start allowing things to incrementally build, et cetera, it's going to be more affordable. So a lot of the stuff that I want to immediately do is dealing with affordability in general, and that's going to come through a lot of policy changes. And then another thing that I want to do is just build in the immediate more affordable housing. So when it comes to multifamily housing, we can provide incentives, not money, but incentives for developers to make a certain amount of those units affordable. So those are some of the immediate things I would want to do when elected.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for coming over here and spending your time with us for one, but also being a little bit more reflective about like what your mind is towards politics. I think it's refreshing to see somebody so young, but also somebody with a long future ahead of them in politics. I think one of my biggest things that I felt like could change politics in this country is if we stop approaching it from just like lawyers and political science majors. We need engineers, we need educators, we need people in the arts, because these are also people that are affected by these policies and are not trying to line their pockets. We need a council minded people. I think your background in engineering directly leads you into the problem solving of things instead of how it can make you rich. So thank you for running. We'll see you on election day. When you win, come back. You know what I'm saying? When you win,
it's not just a one-time thing. I gotta come back.
Yeah, when you win, come back. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna see how we impact.
I'll be in the whole suit and tie. I'll do the whole.
Oh
thing
yeah, do that. You know what I'm saying? We'll have your you know what I'm saying, your merch back here. You know,
you'll have the photo of all the previous mayors, and you're like, this one looks a little bit darker.
Yeah. You'll be the Lincoln Penny. You know what I'm saying?
Well, my dreads will be a little longer. We'll do it.
Yeah. Man, Sam, thank you, bro. Appreciate
you so much.
It's just rap. I just want to rap, I just want to rap, man. I just want to rap.
That fate was on my side.
Yeah.
Was my fate was on my side.
Man. Yeah. They say without the proper labor, faith don't stand a chance. I put my faith in faith and stand on fertile land. I planted seeds that'll indeed turn into trees. Be forest and peace teas get printed to me.